What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zigzag Wrestling Club. My name is Corbin, and thank you for joining me here today. I have a brand new setup. It is pretty surreal that I'm finally gotten to this point. I haven't gotten all the kinks figured out and stuff, just because it's all new. I have a new Mayano Gen 2 E2 soundboard over here. I can play off sound effects, but I don't have any uploaded yet because I wanted to try and get this out tonight, and the process is a little bit complicated. So couldn't quite figure that out, but in the future, just know that there might be some fun little sound effects that I want to throw in. Along with that, I got the Shure SM7BD, I think is what it's called, along with the arm to go with it. So this is like the first big purchase I've made over the course of my life. This was definitely a lot of money, and I had to work pretty hard to get it. So I'm really excited to get all this, and to match that with the keyboard and the mouse pad, and I'm just super grateful for everything I have right here. And what's even better is I could sit here and talk to you guys about this crazy weekend we just had in wrestling. So if you guys want to do me a favor, go and drop a follow the podcast, follow me on YouTube. That's actually subscribe on YouTube. And then go ahead and like it up, rate the podcast, do all the fancy stuff. It really helps me out. You'll really find out that you'll enjoy my content. I hope the mic sounds good. You're no longer going to get those pops. That's like the biggest reason I wanted to change, was because I kept hearing the pops in the audio from the Yeti Blue mic just being old, and it had that used worn out cable and the worn out insert. So I just decided to go pick up something that won't do that. And it's definitely way more complicated, and I totally might be peaking. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get used to everything. I'm really loud. Okay. I think it's somewhat fixed. I don't want to be like redlining or anything. I don't even know like what the output is. So it's all new, and it's all crazy, and it's all probably way more than I deserve, because I'm barely over 100 subscribers, but this really will help me out in my journey and content as a whole, and I think it's a good investment for the future. But anyways, enough of that stupid stuff. You don't really want to hear me talk about all that. You want to hear me talk about the grand wrestling we've had over the course of the weekend. And first, I just want to start out with SmackDown, and this is going to be very brief, so please don't click off of here. My year is complete. Chelsea Green hit a zigzag. Did I even say my intro? Did I even say welcome back to the Zigzag Wrestling Club? I don't even remember if I did. Doesn't matter. Anyways, Chelsea Green hit a zigzag in her match, and also she beat Nia Jax. That was pretty dope, and potentially maybe we're getting a little bit of a Chelsea Green push here. Mrs. Money in the Bank, potentially. Mrs. Queen of the Ring? I don't think so, but definitely Miss Money in the Bank. I think she deserves it. I just wanted to shout that out because I thought it was funny. And this is another thing, which this isn't SmackDown related, but has anyone noticed that Obafemi's theme song is no longer on Apple Music? Whenever I was going through my Frog Splash playlist, that's what it's called, I realized that they have gone through a wave of taking certain people's songs on. Now, some songs stay on that certain playlist just out of respect. Voyager, Kairi Sane's theme, that's staying on there for respect. I can no longer listen to it, which sucks and it's terrible, but it's just got to stay on there just for me personally. Aleister Black's theme song as well is no longer there, but whenever I was looking, Obafemi's song is also not on there anymore, which I thought was a little bit weird. I mean, there's no way they're going to change it, right? I feel like that would be such a bad move, but I just thought this was very odd. Very odd. But I digress. Of course, the number one match talked about. This is probably going to take up most of my time. We have AAA's Noches de los Grandes this weekend. I watched the whole event. Anytime there's a AAA pay-per-view, I'm watching all of it because it's such a spectacle. It's hard for me to watch weekly TV because I am white and I'm from rural, not Mexico, and I just don't know Spanish. So it's a little bit hard to keep up sometimes, but the wrestling itself is just great, and that's what the pay-per-views are really like pointed towards. So I always watch them. And we kick it off with Laredo Kid versus Ray Phoenix. My goodness. I didn't really know of, like, I knew who he was, but I've never really seen him wrestle. Incredible. And then we know how good Ray Phoenix is. His little corner jumping, like, spin kick to the face has got to be one of the sexiest moves I've ever seen in my entire life. It's absolutely beautiful. And this whole match was just fantastic. Bell to bell. I have no complaints. And I was like, wow, this is one of the best matches I've seen all year. Nothing can top this. That's a huge side eye. Then we move on to Hijo del Vikingo versus Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. Vikingo beats Dr. Wagner Jr. He becomes the new international champion. Don't come at me if that's wrong, but it's something along that nature. Great match. It's cool to see him win a belt as well. Then the War Raiders become the AAA tag champions, which is unbelievable because I didn't even know they wrestled down in AAA. I know I had seen them at like some point, and I was like, oh, here's like a little one-off to give them something to do. No, they're just like down there now. Probably great heels as well because they don't speak Spanish, and I would guess people don't like that very much, which actually kind of works out kind of well. So it was cool to see them win the tag champs. I always really liked them. They just there's not really a spot for them right now on the main roster. Well, that's what the creative think. If they wanted to actually use the tag teams that they have, they would be a perfect fit. But God forbid. So, and then like because of this match happening, we now have Pagano turning on Psycho Clown after the War Raiders just beat him up. Which that's a story that if you follow AAA, that's going to be like a big thing that you remember and a big thing for the future. And I'm sure that that's going to lead to a match between them two down the line. And from what I've seen from them, I think that'll be a pretty great match. Uh, Again, I don't know what they say to each other or anything like that, but just like from a storytelling move set, like in ring storytelling standpoint, this was a very good match, very good kind of feud starter for these two. I know that they had been beefing as well, so very cool, very cool. And of course, like all of these matches were so great, but then they just get stomped out by the final match. I have to take off my sweatshirt. It is very hot in my room. All right, we're back, but I'm in my Barney shirt, which is super tough. Anyways, Noches de los Grandes. I'm going to run through all the big spots in the match, all the parts I really loved, and I'm just going to kind of give like my first, just my biggest points that I think really carried this match to where it is. But this is what I want to start it with. There's this photo I saw on Instagram the other day. If anyone remembers how this started, you probably understand like this huge domino effect I'm about to talk about. This entire feud started with this photo between Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio. And it's the moment on Raw where we just get these two. Sorry, my brightness is way too high for you people on online. So we have these two and they talk and Chad Gable asks for a phone number, I believe. It's like ask for a phone number so I can learn the ways of the luchadores. This domino effect, Dom giving Chad Gable the phone number, has led to one of the greatest pro wrestling matches of all time. Greatest storytelling in-ring match potentially of all time. Now, recency bias is a thing. Maybe I go back and rewatch it in a year and it doesn't hit as well. But whenever I was watching that match, it was goosebumps after goosebumps. And then the ending was the best part after the match. Like that final resolution, and the great send off that the Mexican crowd gave to Chad Gable was so unbelievable. But it's just funny that that's the one moment that started this. How long has it been? Probably 14, 15-month cycle between, Chad getting hurt, becoming the OG El Grande Americano. Then this new El Grande Americano takes over for him after his injury. And now it's full circle. He returns at the Royal Rumble, I believe. And then they kickstart this feud and it moves down to AAA. And now it's just like one of the biggest things that we've had in wrestling, I would say, since Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania 40. I don't feel like there's been a more anticipated match than this one. Now I guess you could say like Oba versus Brock at WrestleMania, like maybe, but the storytelling wasn't quite there for me. Like it was just like two beasts that you love going at it. This was a built from the ground up story, a story that had no business being as good as it should have been, and they happened to formulate this thing into just an absolute masterpiece. So let me run through this real quick. El Grande Americano is a megastar. I already knew this, but the level of passion for a superstar of this stature is just something I've never seen. Like he is the like the prime Cody Rhodes of AAA. If you don't understand like what I'm talking about, you just need to go watch the beginning of this match. Like while he's walking out, it's unbelievable. There is not a soul inside that building that does not want this guy to win. He is the ultimate babyface down in Mexico, which, by the way, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be in this scenario, but he's so damn good that he has put himself and put his opportunities into place to make this work. And I have so much respect and so much love for whoever is under the mask. I actually always have, but then now he's really getting his flowers, and it's great to see him prosper like this. The cameras were genuinely shaking from the crowd in Mexico. He comes into the ring, El Grande does his little turn, and the place is viscerally shaking from how much noise, and people are stomping up and down and doing all this crazy stuff, and it's just the fans. Like this wasn't a category 8 earthquake or however you were supposed to like do the stuff on that. I don't know how earthquakes work. It wasn't a giant earthquake. It was just the people, the Mexican crowd, giving their love to El Grande Americano. And I couldn't believe it. It was like pulsing through my TV. And it was so loud, in fact, that it was corrupting parts of the audio because their mics couldn't handle it. That's unbelievable. That's when you know you have lightning in a bottle. The OG El Grande Americano. Wow, go me. The OG Americano comes out. Oh my goodness. To a crowd of boos, and it was just great. Like the way he plays it up too is just there's nothing better. There's nothing better than playing up the boos and you get up on the top turnbuckle and you flex and they're like, "Oh, I hate this guy even more now." And you just can't stop and think to yourself like if we didn't have this mask versus mask, how long could we have ran with this OG El Grande being a bad guy? Because he was potentially more of a heel than Hijo del Vikingo. Now, Hijo del Vikingo is also very deeply hated, but Chad did such a great job in this role as well. And the guitar shot. It leads to all the boos. El Grande is taking all the fame in, and boom, guitar shot over the top of the head, which comes back to bite him a little bit later. Uh, that was such a sick start. It immediately puts El Grande on the back foot, and then he's got to try and work his way back into this match. Which, whenever you have your babyface working off the back foot, I feel like it gets the fans more into it because they're really trying to drive that main character, to get the power to overcome his enemy, the enemy in Chad Gable. And then we get to this moment. Two of my favorite moments in the match were the ripping at the mask. OG Americano goes over the top rope and is reaching down and starts ripping at the mask of El Grande Americano. And he pulls it all the way until we can almost see like the entire like left corner of his face. And for a sec I was like, dude, is he going to open this like all the way up? And then of course like finally he lets go, something happens, and Americano now has to wrestle the entire match with half of his face exposed. He has a piece of hair that's like shredding out the entire time. To me, it looks like bad stitches. That's kind of the vibe it gave off. It just gave it like an extra layer of chaos, an extra layer of just just viciousness from the OG. And then of course he goes on to get bloodied. So you see the blood pouring down the side of his face where the mask is ripped open and the hair sticking out, and it's just like this whole collection of just great moments that pile into this one picture, this one image that you get of El Grande Americano during this entire match at this point, and it's just so sick. And then of course we get the involvement of Julio and Bruto, and they put El Grande Americano through the table, send him back in. Chad Gable flying headbutt, 1, 2, 2 3/4, and we get a wicked kick out. A wicked kick out, and the place erupts again. Camera's shaking again because if you look at this from a blank slate, if you don't really know what's going on, you're like, oh, this is it. This guy just got put through a table. This guy hit his finisher. 1, 2, 3. It should be done. And he kicks out. The false finishes in this match are going to be a huge reason on why it's potentially one of my favorite matches of all time. Probably my favorite match, the best match I've seen since I've started wrestling again. Potentially one of the best matches ever. And I'm going to keep saying that um, because of how many false finishes there were. And that to me is whenever you got them. There's a fine line between like, and this isn't me hating on AEW, so don't come at me. But whenever someone's like, okay, I'm going to hit 3 Mexican destroyers or Canadian destroyers, and then I hit a top rope splash and then a hidden blade to the back of your head, and then the person just kicks out at 1. No, not that. I don't like that. If that's your thing, that's totally fine. That's not personally, I'm a big storytelling guy. That's not really my forte. This in WWE and AAA, it's usually always one finish, that's it. Or like maybe you hit 2 finishers and that second one is it. So whenever you can finally build these moments, which you can't have these moments all the time, but whenever you build it up enough to where you can finally have this moment of like, okay, false finish, kick out, huge splash, DDT, this, original finisher. Oh, he's got him in the ankle lock, like, but he always manages to get himself out of it. That is special to this moment in this match because we have built up all those times where these people have not kicked out of these moves or have submitted to these finishers. So it just makes so much sense to me that there were so many false finishes in this match because it was like 2 people fighting for their own identity. It was so fantastic. And to come out and get Julio and Bruto, here come Rayo and Bravo. And I love these two. I always have. And Bravo hits a huge dive onto the pile of guys below him from the balcony. It was so sick. So everybody's taken out. So now it's just Grande versus OG Grande. And these two just go to work. They have a submission battle where El Grande Americano puts him into the, I don't know actually what he calls it, but he wraps him between his legs and he like shifts his body backwards to pull on the neck. Um, it's a sick finisher, and he somehow rolls into it so quickly. Like it's not like the setup takes forever. He kind of just somehow has just learned how to get into it, kind of like in a split second, and it looks fantastic. And then rolling out of that, Chad Gable goes in with the ankle lock and gets down into the vine, which like people do not get out. If he gets into the vine while he has that ankle locked in, people don't normally escape it. And this was just so cool. Such a great moment to see them going back to back. And then, of course, to get out of the ankle lock, he rolls into another submission. And I think he even maybe hits an ankle lock at some point of his own. And then, of course, they fight out of it and they do this whole submission battle going back and forth, foot against the rope. They're dragging each other back, going back into the finisher, going for a pinning combo out of it. And it was all these different layers that they were throwing into this one, like, 2-minute battle on the ground. And this 2-minute submission battle just gave more, like I just said, layers. There were so many layers to this moment where, yeah, we had the high flying and we had the interruption from Bruto and Julio and the Americanos, Rayo and Bravo. And we have these big moments where they go through the table and these other people are getting involved. But whenever we just sit down real quick and soak the energy back into the mat with this submission battle, it was epic. It was absolutely epic. And then El Grande's girlfriend shows up. Grande's girlfriend shows up. She has a ticket, so she's technically allowed to be there. I thought that was just like a fun little throwback on the story. And of course, this distracts Chad Gable. He goes over, trying to like get into a fight with her a little bit, and Americano comes over, starts beating on him. And this is one of my favorite moments in the match. He throws him up and into the staircase that has been turned sideways, and we get a very familiar kick to the face. There's someone who used to be in the WWE by the name of Ludwig Kaiser. Now, I know there's people online saying that that's who El Grande Americano is. Those people are crazy. I think they're just really good friends, so they use each other's moves. I think that's kind of how it works. So we see him set Chad up. You know, he's sitting down with his head just in front of the staircase, and El Grande runs out and then comes back around full sprint and just jumps up and gives a basement drop kick to the face into the stairs, shoves the stairs over. Basically was just like kind of what he did to Giovanni Vinci to write him off on Raw. I'm saying that's what Ludwig Kaiser did. So that was the similarity. And, you know, of course, he was playing off of his friend most likely. And so he does that, rolls in, and then to give tribute to Ludwig again, he hits his original finisher, which just like, dude, I loved that. Seeing him hit the swinging DDT, I think that's one of the sickest moves. Alexa Bliss technically does it. It's the Sister Abigail DDT, but the way he hits it's just like a touch bit different. His body just contorts in a different way than hers does, and his just looks so fantastic. He hits the swinging DDT onto the chair, goes into the cover, and for me, that was like a wait, this might be over moment because we had the involvement of the Americanos and we had the involvement of the girlfriend, and we go back inside DDT on the chair. I'm like, wait, that's his original move. Like this could be it. Like he could maybe trying to kickstart something up. 1-2. Chad, of course, kicks out right before 3. He's so good at timing up whenever to build up the crowd. Like, oh, it's over. Oh, it's over. Boom, kick out, and it gets everybody on their feet. That was such a fun moment. And then, of course, coming out of that, he hits his original finisher. I'm totally going to butcher this. It's called like the Luxembourgen. I should have looked up actually what it's called, but it's something along those lines. It was his finisher he used to hit on the Indies over in the UK, Ludwig Kaiser. So obviously El Grande has been studying tape of Ludwig and he's been using those moves so he could integrate a new move set into this match. That's obviously what's going on. He phoned a friend, and so he hits this super sick move. By the way, goes for a cover kick out, and then El Grande trips due to his hurt ankle, which we were talking about the submission battle from earlier. And of course, this is like the storytelling that I love. He had his ankle put in the vine, in the leg lock, in the ankle lock, and now he has this hurt ankle that he has to battle through. He trips and falls, and then of course this leads into Chad running up, getting another false finish whenever he hits the Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory, such a sick move, by the way. He hit this bridging. El Grande falls down 1, 2, almost 3, and he kicks out again. Again, another false finish that I absolutely loved. And we go through all these moments where that um there's a character that shows up, hits Chad on the head with a guitar, and I believe that he previously took this person out with the guitar earlier in the year. Uh, Pimpronella, I think, is what this person's name is, and that was such a cool like throwback moment to this person getting their lick back on Chad. Just how amazing, how like what amazing like long term and short term storytelling from AAA and The Undertaker. And finally, we get to the end. We have all these moments going through the table. El Grande hits an air raid crash through a table. We have the drop kick into the stairs. Chad, I think he does the moonsault from the top rope into the outside. We have all these different moments, and it leads to these two staggering. And El Grande grabs him, points to the AAA logo. The place goes insane. He flies off the ropes, just like, you know, kind of just pushing through the pain in his ankle. He's like limping, and then he finally gets going, and then he hits the diving headbutt, and that's the 3 count. And the new El Grande, but now the only El Grande Americano wins the mask versus mask. This match just took me back. There's been like there are moments in wrestling, it's in it whenever like something happens, it's like I get taken back to whenever I was 4 years old again. This was one of those matches where I couldn't stop watching. It was so great, and it was like everything that was happening. I was just so sucked in. It was like 10-year old me, 10-year-old Corbin just back sucked into what was going on the TV and the WWE. I loved every second of it. And then, of course, we get to the speech after, which, like I said at the beginning, is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire story right here. And Chad Gable said, "I put in this mask to go on a journey to become a luchador and find out how to beat the luchadors at their own game." And he's saying all this stuff. Um, this final speech from the OG El Grande Americano was so fantastic, and the crowd even turned and started to cheer for him because it actually made sense why he was doing all of this in the first place. And Chad Gable says, "From now on, you're the only El Grande Americano." And of course, the fans loved that. It was actually kind of a really cool. It was such a cool moment. And then of course he takes the mask off, and I've been saying it this whole time, but I can't uh tell you guys enough how just mind blown I was whenever this ended up being Chad Gable. I absolutely couldn't believe it. Like my guess was like I thought it was like Tommaso Ciampa or potentially Mark Henry. I really did think Mark Henry was maybe under the mask. Um and it was so sick. And so the moment where when he takes his mask off, it reminds me of whenever Darth Vader took his mask off, and there's all the scars and stuff from the suit, and his face is like all bloated out just because with the burns and all these different things. That's what it felt like. It felt like he was unmasked, and he had all the scars, and he was bleeding, and he's sweating. um it was such a cool moment whenever he finally got to take the mask off. Totally worth the wait. Um, and he ends it by saying, "My name is Chad Gable. I grew up in Minnesota. I've wrestled in the Olympics, and I am American. This is my family next to me. Chad Gable will be back in AAA, mark my words." And then he hands the mask to El Grande Americano. That, of course, was a definitely like shortened version of what he said. The full speech was just like it was very emotional, and you could tell that he genuinely enjoyed like the people of Mexico and what they stood for and all these different things. So cool. I think we just watched a once in a lifetime match. Like this won't happen again in our lifetime where this situation will pop up because just what the hell. And I'm going to break some rules, and I'm going to conform to some conspiracies online. If the guy under the mask is El Grande Americano. If you've never heard me say this before, let's just think about this. The real El Grande Americano, if it is Ludwig Kaiser, this is a German guy pretending to be a luchador, pretending to be an American. And also on top of all this is not even his original gimmick. On paper, this was supposed to fail. This was not a good gimmick, but this guy, potentially Ludwig or El Grande Americano, just somehow managed to pull off the greatest Uno reverse card in all of history. This felt like whenever Cody Rhodes was handed Stardust and they were like, "Here you go, make it work." And of course, he made it work to the best of his abilities, but it wasn't who Cody was. El Grande Americano has embraced this character, and it has just worked 1,000,000%. And we'll never have this moment again where the original person under this mask comes back and they fight again. And I know like there's Kane mask versus mask, and then there's the Sin Cara mask versus mask, but it's not the same. The way this was built up between Raw and AAA was just spectacular. And like just to the Undertaker, thank you. Genuinely thank you. It was some of the most fun 30-minute, 45-minute match I've seen in my entire life. I loved every second of it. I've seen it like 4 times. I've watched through all of it. Not 4 times, maybe. It was twice. Getting ahead of myself. But such an amazing match. I loved every second of it. And I don't even know what else to say. If you enjoyed the match, if you have different moments, if you want to talk to me about it, drop a comment down below. I'd love to exchange some words if you'd like. But just thank you. This was just such a spectacle to sit down and watch. And I will forever be grateful that I got to witness this moment in person. Clash in Italy. Clash in Italy is up next. To continue this weekend of greatness. What's funny is the WWE didn't even have the best match this weekend. It was AAA, which it's technically WWE. Shut up. It's two different things. One's booked well and one's amazing, and the other one is booked okay and can be good at times. Clash in Italy, though, I think Clash in Italy is a very underrated PLE. I've seen a lot of people online saying, "Oh, this was like the worst PLE ever. This was trash." It wasn't. I don't know what you like. If we watched the same thing, I thought all 5 matches were spectacular. Of course, I will talk about the first match because it was a little bit odd. Um, and I do have my complaints, but as a whole, I thought that this was just uh, the most consistent and the most clean pay-per-view we've had all year so far. The only thing it doesn't beat is potentially night 2 of WrestleMania, but it blows night 1 out of the water. So I just think that people need to give it more credit than what they give it. So we're going to kick it off with Gunther versus Cody. First match on the card. The crowd starts singing Gunther's music as he comes out. That's always my favorite. Whenever they can get in tune, they can start singing and hyping up these wrestlers that are coming out. And on top of all that, it's Gunther, the heel. I love his theme music. And just what a great crowd in general. Like Italy seriously brought it. And it's just one of those things where I wish that all American crowds could be like this, but alas, we're not, and we suck. We suck. So all the overseas crowds just do it so much better than we do, and that's like my favorite part of them going out of the country is you always know that the crowd is going to bring up the match so much, and I think that's something people don't even recognize is that a crowd makes or breaks a PLE and a match. Now, maybe the reason that I like this PLE so much was because it was the crowd. The crowd just brought so much energy and just better moments to each match that maybe it's a little more stuck in my head because I just remember it a lot better from the fans just being so good. But Gunther versus Cody, I thought was a very good match. I thought it was a very good match until the ending. Until the ending, I thought that was very, very weird. We get this finish where Gunther gets basically screwed out of a win. His foot was under the bottom rope. Like, I understand they're trying to protect Gunther because he just retired. All these, this laundry list of people, they're trying to keep his momentum hot. But the problem is that why can't he just lose clean to Cody? Cody's the champion. He's not. Um, it seems like there's been a little bit of a trend recently. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I've seen it online just like a little bit. I think Santi Zap actually said this in one of his more recent videos that WWE has been playing it very safe with a lot of their storylines. They're going to their bread and butter. It seems like. I thought this was a very good moment to give Gunther the belt. Because in my head, whenever I picked Gunther to win this match, here's why. Cody's had the championship for a while. Let's give the belt to Gunther. Gunther can have a plethora of matches going into SummerSlam. and he could lose it to a returning Randy Orton if he's healthy. Because then you oh my gosh, kill me. You automatically set up the perfect heel in Gunther versus babyface in Randy Orton. Now technically, people like, is he a heel because he was siding with Pat McAfee and he was a heel technically whenever he left, but I guess not because he turned on Pat. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whenever he comes back, he's a babyface. It's Randy Orton, and I just thought that'd be a lot better of a story, and it'd just make more sense than let's do Cody versus Randy again. Like, we would obviously get Cody versus Randy down the line anyways. So why wouldn't we do Gunther versus Randy and put the belt on Randy after Gunther loses? This whole thing where we're obviously going to get another match because Gunther's going to roll up onto SmackDown and be like, well, I got screwed over. My foot was under the bottom rope. It's going to lead to another match, potentially at Night of Champions. I think most likely at Night of Champions. They're going to keep building this and have another match. Like, maybe this is where we give Gunther the belt, but at the same time, it doesn't really make sense because then he doesn't have any PLEs to defend it going into SummerSlam, I don't think. So I would have just liked to see the belt change here. But where could this lead between these two? I mean, like I was just saying, kind of just another match. Another match. Potentially we could get a triple threat. I think that would be sick at SummerSlam. We get a triple threat between Cody, Gunther, and Randy. But really, it's like, it seems very fabricated, this feud. It's fine. It's been good. I just don't 100% understand the decision to not put the belt on Gunther. Next up, we have Jade versus Rhea. I picked Rhea. Just forewarning, I went 4 for 5 on my predictions. Because I picked Gunther, Jade, and I picked Brock Lesnar, I picked Soul, and I picked Roman. So, bang. One I didn't get right was Gunther versus Cody. But anyways, next we have Jade versus Rhea. Y'all, I've seen what people have been saying online. And it was like what I was saying earlier. Did we watch the same freaking match? Jade versus Rhea was fire. It was one of my favorite matches of the year. With hands down, without a doubt in my mind. It's the best women's match of all year. Like, normally I don't do that where I separate. It's like, okay, here, it's the best girls match, the best guys match. Usually I just clump them together because they're both like on the same level nowadays. But like, the girls matches this year have been very good, but they haven't been to this level. Like, Jade and Rhea put on a banger. A banger. And the reason I enjoyed this match was because we did get this little bit of storytelling with Charlotte Flair getting involved, which I know I'm not a big Charlotte guy, but I enjoyed her getting involved here to avenge Alexa and help Rhea win and fight off Michin and BFAB. And there was great false finishes, good reversals from these two. And I think their style, the way they wrestle is so similar that it's kind of a match made in heaven because it's two powerhouses and they wrestle the same. They are the same person in two different bodies. And like, for Jade, like, Rhea can work with pretty much anyone, but Jade doesn't do very well with certain people. And Rhea is probably going to be her I don't want to say match made in heaven again, but she is. Like, for the rest of her career, that is going to be like her dance partner is Rhea Ripley. Like, we're going to see these two get into the ring so many more times in this, and every time they get in the ring, we're going to be like, okay, let's go. This is what I want to see. Jade versus Rhea, they had moments from the top rope, like I was saying, false finishes, like all these different moments, and the match wasn't slow. I've noticed sometimes with Jade's matches that she really does like to try and build the crowd up, which is good. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but sometimes like she takes too much time, and Rhea does the same where they tend to eat up a lot of their time, like showboating and trying to get the crowd involved, which is good, but sometimes it's a little too much. This match, it was literally like, okay, hit this move, boom, next spot, boom, next spot, boom. We can have a little bit of like cheering and whatever, and Jade's doing the push-ups and people are booing her, but then we get right back into the action. It was so action-packed. Loved every second of it. Personally, this might be a hot take. It was my favorite match on the card. It was absolutely my favorite match on the card, there wasn't a bad match on this card, but it definitely was my favorite. Brock Lesnar defeats Obafemi in a big man banger. I think I think this was the best outcome. There are people thinking that it should have just been Brock Lesnar gets beat by Oba, so Oba looks super strong. But also, if Oba's going to lose, this was the way to lose. He took 7 F5s. He took like 3 F5s off the rip and kicked out at like 1 or like 2 or whatever it was. Like, it wasn't anything like crazy. It was like, okay, like Oba can just take an ass whooping. That's kind of what the vibe was. And I think this means their series has to go to match 3, potentially at SummerSlam. This match, in my opinion, was way better than their first match at WrestleMania, by far. You had the 7 F5s, like I just said. You had the F5 through the table. Bunch of great moments in between where, you let Oba get involved a little bit. And you also have the use of the Kimura lock, which I thought was very clever. The way to beat down Obafemi is using that lock, using that submission, and we still got that power slam reversal out of it from Obafemi. That was incredible. Like I was just saying, so many different flavors going on in this match, and I really enjoyed it. And it was definitely longer, I think, than their first match. I think Brock potentially was in way better shape. Uh, for this. I think maybe WrestleMania was a little bit rushed potentially. And they wanted to keep the match short. But granted, all the matches were short at WrestleMania, it felt like. But I very much enjoyed the way they played this out. And I like that Brock defeated Obafemi because I want to get a third match out of these two at SummerSlam, where obviously Obafemi will then definitely retire Brock Lesnar. Sol Ruka wins the Intercontinental Championship. It was awesome. Her moonsault to the outside was absolutely beautiful. Her high flying ability is fantastic. I have nothing but praise for Sol Ruka. I think her finisher is great. Probably one of some of the best in the business. Um, but she just looks so smooth and fluid, and you could tell sometimes with her she looks very nervous, which I totally get, but she looked nervous at the start of this, and then she entered her flow state, and everything started clicking with her, and you saw that bit of nervousness go away. The butterflies were gone, and then she really started cooking, and her timing was great, and of course, can't do it without a great dance partner in Becky Lynch. I think Becky's probably one of the greatest intercontinental champions we'll ever have in the women's division. And this IC title just got brought in, but they, like I said last week, they need Becky in the main title scene. And having her lose this was perfect. You're going to bring her up. Potentially she could win Queen of the Ring or something like that. But Becky did such a great job. But going back to Sol Ruka, who are some opponents I would like to see her face, and how long do I think she holds it? Ooh. So I think she's going to obviously face Ivy Nile. Every single Intercontinental Champion starts off their reign by facing Ivy Nile. We see her do this thing on Raw with Lyra Valkyria, so she's going to probably face Lyra at some point, maybe Bayley. Potentially Maxine could get involved again. I just hope they don't go back to the well and start up another feud with Becky Lynch. Like I was just saying, she needs to go to the main event scene. But there's a lot of different people we could look at on the Raw roster for the women's down in that mid card that could really be useful, and you could even pull some people over from SmackDown potentially. Maybe if she was gonna run some open challenge, you could go get maybe a JC Jane or a Laney Reed or a Fallon Henley, someone from Fatal Influence, and bring them over and have them challenge. Or you could have someone from NXT if you wanted to bring them up and have a little one-offer. There's just so many different things you could do. It's like a blank slate with Sol Ruka winning. That's another reason I really like her getting the win here. And I think she can hold this for a very long period of time. I just don't want her to hold it forever. I think if she loses it to anyone, who could she lose it to? That's tough because I think she potentially holds this until October. Like that seems long, but that's like a decent long reign. I think she could potentially have a 150 plus day reign. Could maybe drop it to Bailey. I think Bailey would look great with the IC title. I guess I'll just make that my random pick, but super excited for Sol Ruka. Roman versus Jacob. This was a pretty fire match. My favorite moment of this entire match was Roman using the toolbox to break the hand of Jacob, and I think um the certain caveats we have in wrestling are like oh we have the foot under the bottom rope that breaks the count. Oh, whenever someone whenever someone takes off the turnbuckle pad and you get thrown into it, they're like instantly knocked out. If you get hit by the championship belt, you're instantly knocked out. Whenever someone brings out the toolbox, you're like, okay, shit just got out of hand. And that's pretty much what happens. He breaks the hand of Jacob, and the one that he tries to use the Tongan death grip with, and the OTC immediately says, "Can't do shit with it now, can you?" Super funny in my opinion. And that's another thing Roman's great at. Just like the entire time, he's just jawing at his opponent, which is what you would do like in a real fight. That's why I do enjoy Roman as a champion and just in general, because he's learned these facial expressions and these ways to talk and talk crap during the match. And it's just all these different moments that you can get from Roman Reigns uh to go into the OTC eventually retaining his championship. And I know that some people think that Jacob should have won this. It'd be like a new route to go on. And I think you are right. There was a story you could have told where Jacob wins here and he's now the tribal chief and now he's leading the Usos and now Roman has to kind of fall behind Jacob, and that would be a very interesting thing. Here's the reason I didn't want that to happen. I just want Roman to face people outside of the bloodline. I want Roman to go face Obafemi. I want him to face Dominic Mysterio. I want him to face Austin Theory and maybe even like Cody again down the road. Like if they happen to make it to Crown Jewel together, which I don't think is going to happen. But if you keep Roman as champion, there's so many different people he can feud with other than the people in his family. So I think keeping the title on him is good just because I want to see him cook a lot more. Moving over to Raw, we get the Italian crowd again, same stadium, and again, rowdy, absolutely rowdy crowd, and they just go crazy for the OTC. The place is shaking. I swear it was like 15 minutes before he actually started talking because they were chanting so much and he was just letting them go. And then, of course, we get Jacob Fatu coming out. He technically has joined the bloodline. Technically, I think. I don't know if the bloodline has been like fully kicked up and officially started, but they are now like together, gelling. There's a backstage segment where Roman sends Jay to go win the King of the Ring and go win the belt that Cody has. That's like his challenge to him, and he's talking to Big Jim. Big Jim potentially is being someone that's gonna keep uh Jacob in check because who knows what Jacob's gonna go do. And I think restarting the bloodline is fine, but I just need to see where they go with it. I'm not gonna go ahead and point fingers now, but I feel like it could get a bit slow in the future. But if they do it right, they could revive it and it could be great again. Like genuinely, who knows? The first King of the Ring match was an absolute banger. I looked at this card: Mello versus Penta versus Solo Sikoa versus Obafemi. And I thought to I was looking through the matches, like all the Fatal Four Ways. I was like, my goodness, did they just want to stack this corner of the bracket anymore? Solo Sikoa, he's amazing. Penta, your Intercontinental Champion. Carmelo Hayes, the greatest, well, most recent, my favorite U.S. champion. I was gonna say greatest U.S. champion of all time. Sorry, but I didn't mean it like that. But like in recent memory, he has been my favorite U.S. champion to date. And then of course you have Obafemi, the man who has beaten and just previously lost to Brock Lesnar. Wow, just what a match! I need more Solo Sikoa matches. I need him to get out of this mid card MFT vortex and just kind of become his own thing. Now he can have Tala Tonga with him, perfectly fine with that. I actually like the chemistry that they have. I talked about that last week. But I just need more solo matches because whenever he goes up against these big men and he's actually just given time to cook and just, be goofy but also serious and give these great moves that he does, like the spike and the hip attack into the corner and these power slams, he's a fantastic talent. And along with him, Mello versus Penta is a future dream match. Give these two like a falls count anywhere, best 2 out of 3 falls, something like that. These two would absolutely fry together. But of course, Obafemi picks up the victory. Not shocking, comes out, just levels people, hits a little fall from grace to Solo Sikoa to end the match. It was like, who else was gonna win? I actually technically didn't pick Oba to win this match because I thought maybe Brock would get involved here, but I guess not. Why on God's green earth did we change Ethan Page's theme song? Like, this is what they said. Def Rebel goes, yo, what if we took a great theme song, we kept it almost the same, but we just made it suck? Like, what are we doing? Like, there's no reason to take out the ego. Like, that was the part that everyone loved singing, and it was such a great little tune. And just like, it kind of just added to his gimmick. And I just like the song, and they made like this weird remix of it, and it's fallen so short. Like, they could keep the remix the same and just add the ego back into it, and I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, you changed it up a little bit from NXT, it's fine. But you took out the ego, and that does not sit right with me personally. And then, of course, after that, we get Ethan Page and Rusev versus Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. Banger. What else am I supposed to say? Ethan Page and Rusev work way too well together. Like, that is such a weird combo of people you're going to put together, but it's working very well. Dragon Lee is really moving up in my rankings. I really enjoy all the stuff he's been able to do. And of course, Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. So, great match. The Queen of the Ring first match was absolutely solid. Io Sky picks up the win. I gotta be honest, I looked at this like set of people and I was like, yeah, Io Sky's gonna win the Queen of the Ring. Like they like most likely, like that's who I see potentially winning just because I think it would make the most sense. But also, Io Sky's already been women's champion. I don't think she needs a crown to declare that she's gonna be the challenger, the next challenger for the women's world championship. She should just be able to take her shot. So I don't know who I want to pick, which we are gonna do predictions here in just a second. The match itself, though, you have Io Sky, and you have Julia and Lash Legend and Roxanne Perez, and as I've been saying, we have all these different flavors where you have the very like Japanese strong style from Julia, but then you get the mix of strong style and high flying from Io Sky, and then you get the very technical uh Roxanne Perez, and then along with that you get the powerhouse like Lash Legend. Like whenever I was looking at this top right corner, I was thinking to myself, like, you just have all these different factors and different players that are going into this match. Like, I thought it was going to be a very good match, and it was. I really enjoyed it. I liked that EO won, but everyone got to display like a little bit of themselves. Everyone got time to show what they could do, and that's what I think is the most important part about these like first matches is that just like showing everyone who your character is, what your character can do, and stand out within a fatal four-way match. I think is pretty important. The main event on Raw, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker, had so many great moments. So many great moments. And the final 3 minutes were just cinema. These two, it hit like the, 3 to 5 minute mark and they were like full steam ahead. But these moments, even before you got Seth Rollins hitting the trifecta of jumps to the outside, you have, all these different moments with Paul Heyman getting involved. But then we go to these final like 3 to 5 minutes. Braun goes for the spear on Seth, and Seth hits a perfect reversal into a pedigree onto the table. I am not the biggest fan of the spear reversal into the pedigree. It can be done right, but sometimes it doesn't look like fantastic. This was the best one I've ever seen, and it was through a table. That's awesome. Braun runs around the ring and sprints full steam into Paul Heyman and takes him out. We get Austin Theory getting involved, hitting with the championship. We get a false finish out of that. Montez Ford comes out, backs up Seth Rollins, kind of pushing, this narrative of, Seth finally getting a friend, finally getting backup, just because, they took out Angelo Dawkins. And Braun Breaker has this moment where he's like charging up for a spear, and Seth does a super kick, and he does like a full 360, like cartoon Tom and Jerry fall down to the ground. Such an amazing sell. And then we get this moment where Seth takes the title belt that Austin Theory had, and Braun spears his head into the title belt. And then Seth hits the stomp. What a great finish. What a great match. I was blown away. Like, I knew these two were going to cook, and because Braun Breaker, up and coming talent, super fantastic, and we have Seth Rollins, one of the greatest of all time. And you put them in the ring together in this feud that we've been building for such a long time, and we just got cinema from these two. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the end of this episode of the Zigzag Wrestling Club. Thank you for joining me here today. I really had a lot of fun going through everything. I know I didn't have any like fun questions, but there was so much I had to get through, from the great, like the awesome El Grande Americano match, to the Clash in Italy review, and then of course to the Raw Zigzag Wrestling Club. Please go follow me. We have a lot of fun. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you're over there. Helps me out. You'll have a lot of fun over on this YouTube channel. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you. So I hope you have a wonderful day.